Right, let's talk about heating, something very different. Hundreds of thousands of people around the UK get their energy via shared heat networks. Sold as an eco-friendly alternative to heating your house, it's actually ended up trapping customers with crippling bills.
Yeah, consumer champ Matt Allwright has been to find out how rising costs of up to 700% have left families unable to pay and face losing their homes.
1 in 25 UK households is part of a heat network, a heating system providing heating and hot water for a whole block or district. It can make a lot of sense, being better for the environment and keeping prices low for the residents.
However, in the past couple of years, all that's changed.
Heat networks buy their energy on commercial contracts. They're not covered by the energy price cap, so there is no top limit to customers' energy bills. With the recent surge in energy prices, we've heard from customers facing huge bill increases, some by as much as 700%.
To make things worse, customers on heat networks can't change providers. That means they can end up trapped on deals they can't afford, with almost nowhere to turn for help.
Kirsty Oliveira lives in social housing on a heat network in Lambeth, South London. Back in February, the council increased her energy bills by over 350%.
I couldn't believe it. I think I believed that they had made a mistake because it's such a ridiculous price rise. It means that I'm expected to pay thousands more a year than someone that's protected by the price cap.
Is that affordable for you?
No. I don't have an extra £65.10 a week. If it stays at that level, my arrears just going to keep going up.
As her energy bills are included in her service charges on her monthly rental payment, Kirsty's been receiving monthly arrears letters from the council asking for payment. And more recently, she received a notice of possession stating that she may be evicted from her property if she doesn't pay up.
What effect does it have on you, having that possibility hanging over you the whole time?
My whole life is around here. I've got my son that still lives with me. I don't want to move. Where would I go and what would I afford? I know people who are not eating properly because they're trying to pay this because they're scared they're going to get evicted. This can't be right that they're doing this to us. It can't be right. It's not fair.
Kirsty doesn't have a meter, meaning she can't give meter readings to help lower the cost of her energy usage, and it can't be switched off.
You can't use less?
Yeah.
Because it's not in your control?
Yeah, we can turn our heaters off, but the heating is still available. So no matter whether I'm using it or whether I'm not using it, I'm supposed to be paying £61.99 a week for my heating. Whereas people that don't have a heat network, if they can't afford to pay it, they can turn it off or they can put a jumper on. I'm not going to just, accept it. I will keep fighting.
Nobody should be forced into a difficult financial situation, not of their own making, without having anywhere to turn for help. But sadly, Kirsty's situation is far from unique.
Down the road, at another estate in Lambeth, John Beechey's also been struggling to pay his energy bills after they increased by over 350%. And like Kirsty, he's also facing eviction.
It says there at the top, if you don't pay this, the way to avoid paying it is to end your tenancy. It's basically you pay up or you get out.
I'm looking here at the charges for heating and hot water. I mean, that's a huge change.
I've been managing on my pension and to suddenly have to find an extra £220. I've been struggling through trying to cover it, but I've just fallen further behind. And now I'm in arrears. I'm probably heading towards eviction because I can't pay. I thought it was a way of saving your money. It's communal heating, so you'll chip in a little bit and they buy a big lump of electricity or whatever, and then you all get the benefits, but there's no benefits to this.
Joseph Nokwori lives in the same estate. He says it's having a huge impact on the whole block.
It's affected us emotionally, mentally, psychologically. It's making people desperate, anxious, very stressed. Elderly people at the age of 60, 70, sobbing their eyes out, worrying.
If you did get evicted, what would your choices be?
Absolutely none. I'm going to be back on the street, which is where I was previously, and that's another very scary prospect.
It doesn't matter if you're a homeowner, leaseholder, or a tenant. These issues can affect anyone whose home is on a heat network. I'm meeting Stephen Knight, Managing Director of the Heat Trust, to find out more.
Stephen, why is it that customers on heat networks seem to be so drastically affected by the energy crisis?
Because heat network operators were counted as businesses, business energy costs really did escalate massively throughout the crisis, unprotected by the price cap and by the energy price guarantee. And so, you know, just like businesses saw rises of 5-6 times in some of their energy costs, so did heat network operators. And I think that's left a lot of heat network customers really unsupported throughout some of the worst of the energy crisis. There is now a subsidy scheme in place, but we know that many heat network customers have not yet seen the benefit of that subsidy. It's taken a long time to work its way through to the customers.
If you're on a heat network and haven't received a discount, you can find information about how to contact your supplier on the Citizens Advice website.
I mean, we're talking to people who are telling us that they're at risk of losing their homes. Is there any light at the end of the tunnel?
So the government has legislated now to provide regulation of the supply of heat. So someone on a heat network will get the same sort of consumer protections, and there will be some regulation around price as well. So, you know, the good news is this is going to change, but that change is still a couple of years away. And in the meantime, the last thing I think anyone should see is somebody being evicted from their home.
If people have built up huge arrears and really feel like, you know, eviction could be the next thing they're facing, who should they turn to?
Go and speak to your local authority, go and speak to local debt advice charities and advice services. And often there are local energy support funds available, either from local authorities or local charities that can help people.
So if you're a customer of a heat network and you've either been left out in the cold or forced to pay for energy you can't afford, new regulations will be coming into force in 2025. But until then,
do reach out. There is some help and support there. And 2025 is a long way off. We're not even warm yet.
My goodness, it's so serious. People are just, a couple of bills away from facing the absolute worst, which is losing their house. And it doesn't seem like there's much going on until 2025 to help.
Along that journey, we will keep you posted on what you need to know. But what you need to know right now is what Lambeth Council had to say. They told us buying energy in advance kept resident costs low while global prices shot up in 2022 and 2023. But eventually, these prices hit the council, so were passed on to residents. It told us, however, that with inflation easing, it expects these heating and hot water bills to fall by an average of £25.11 a week in the coming year.
It also told us it had provided £500,000 of extra funding for the most vulnerable tenants and over 17 million in total to residents to combat the cost of living crisis, including targeting support for low-income tenants hit by high heating and hot water charges who didn't get any other support from the government. It also says its response plan has supported over 26,000 households so far.
Finally, it told us it's working with residents to create extended payment plans so arrears can be repaid over a longer period, and that it has applied for the energy bills discount scheme from the government to reduce the cost of heat network energy.